It is a truth seldom acknowledged that the human heart, though wounded by grievous loss, is not beyond the power of recovery, particularly when compassion and familiarity preside over its healing. Such was the circumstance in the quiet market town of Addersley, where Mr. Edward Langley and Mrs. Clara Bertram had, through the cruel offices of contagion, both been made widowed within the same somber month. A fever, relentless and quick in its work, had spread like a shadow over their town, sparing neither the noble nor the meek. Among its many victims were Mr. Langley's wife, the gracious and artistic Louisa, and Clara's husband, the ever-cheerful Mr. Bertram, whose loss had left Clara subdued but steadfast. In earlier, happier years, Edward and Clara had been dear friends, their acquaintance secured through the fond familiarity of their spouses. It was a connection of intellect, kindness, and mutual respect, but nothing more, nor ever imagined to be more, and yet, on the occasion of the one-year anniversary of their losses, the two met again, prompted by a shared desire to remember the ones they had loved, and perhaps also, without full acknowledgement, to ease the solemnity of solitude. They walked together along the path that skirted Langley's orchard, which Louisa had once adorned with wild roses, and Clara had often praised. The day was of that tender spring variety, when the air is warm with promise, and the trees, half-dressed in blossom, sway with a gentleness almost human. "It feels unkind," Clara said after a silence, "that nature should continue to be so beautiful when so many of us feel ruined." Edward turned to her then, not with pity, but with something more difficult to name, an expression softer and more searching than she had ever before seen upon his face. "Clara," he said, and hesitated, as though the name, so familiar, had acquired new weight in his mouth. "I never noticed how warm your smile looked until today." The remark, spoken not with flirtation but earnest surprise, startled her more than it ought. She looked away, pretending to inspect the path. "I think perhaps," she replied slowly, "we are noticing many things anew these days." It was then that he invited her to dine with him at Langley House the following evening. "For remembrance and comfort," he said. She accepted, more curious than cautious, for it was clear, though unspoken, that something had shifted in his manner, and perhaps, though she would not yet confess it, in her own. The evening at Langley House was quiet and elegant. They spoke not only of the past but of the present. The books they were reading, the music Clara had begun to play again, the way Edward had taken to walking every morning as though the act of motion could forestall grief. Through the gentle flicker of candlelight, Clara felt herself observed, not in vanity, but with a fond attentiveness that unsettled and intrigued her. It was the following morning, as they walked again, this time through her own garden, that he turned to her with a sudden gravity. "I am falling in love with you," he said, the words emerging without ceremony, yet entirely without presumption. Clara, who had begun to sense such a declaration might be forming, nonetheless felt her breath catch. "You cannot mean it," she whispered. "I do," said he. "You were my friend before we were, either of us, bereaved. That friendship has become something I cannot quiet. I know what it is to love once. I know the shape of true affection. And I know now that my heart, though once broken, has made room again. For you." Tears sprang to Clara's eyes before she could stop them. "I feared love was not given a second time," she said. "But if it is, then I must admit I feel it too." They courted with modesty and quiet joy, never forgetting the past, but no longer held captive by it. Their marriage, which took place 3 months later, was one of harmony and mutual admiration, not a replacement of old love, but a revival of the soul. In time, their home became once more a place of music, laughter, and long walks. The town, too, began to recover, and those who spoke of Mr. and Mrs. Langley remarked often that theirs was not only a marriage of affection, but of a most unusual sort, one where sorrow had softened into sweetness, and friendship had grown into a love more beautiful for its beginning in grief. This episode is most delightfully sponsored by Jane Austen's Closet, a charming emporium of witty and whimsical attire, perfectly suited for admirers of Miss Austen's works. Pray, do pay them a visit at austenscloset.myshopify.com, or simply follow the link in the description below.